The day my brother's life changed forever started with flashing cameras and the hum of helicopters circling above our small town. Reporters swarmed the courthouse steps like vultures, microphones thrust into his face as he held up the oversized check, $75 million. Next to it, the keys to a gleaming Tesla Model X shimmered under the sunlight, and a real estate agent proudly announced his new address, an ocean view mansion on the cliffs outside the city. The world cheered for him. My brother, Daniel, the golden boy. The one who always seemed to be at the right place at the right time. He had entered some bizarre sweepstakes meets lawsuit settlement thing that I barely understood, and somehow he'd walked away as the biggest winner anyone had ever seen. Overnight, he went from a mechanic in grease-stained overalls to a multimillionaire with bodyguards, lawyers, and an assistant who called him sir. I stood at the edge of the crowd, clapping half-heartedly, forcing a smile even as something inside me twisted. It wasn't jealousy at least, that's what I told myself. I loved my brother. I wanted him to win. But as I watched him hug strangers, pose with reporters, and shake hands with men in tailored suits, I couldn't ignore the little voice inside, where do I fit in now? That night, the mansion doors swallowed him whole. I wasn't on the guest list. My phone buzzed once with a text, sorry, it's crazy here. Talk later? And then it went silent. For weeks. Daniel's new life moved fast. Faster than mine could follow. He posted pictures of rooftop dinners in Paris, vacations in the Maldives, and parties where he rubbed shoulders with people I'd only ever seen in magazines. He looked happy, or at least he looked like what happiness is supposed to look like. Meanwhile, my world shrank. Rent notices piled up on my table. My car broke down, and I had to take the bus to my night shift job. When I did bump into old friends around town, they asked me about your millionaire brother, their eyes wide with curiosity, expecting me to have stories of private jets and champagne. I laughed awkwardly, lying that we talked all the time. The truth was, Daniel barely remembered I existed. And then one evening, just when the bitterness was starting to sink deep, a stranger found me. I was walking home from the bus stop, shoulders hunched against the drizzle, when a man in a weathered coat stepped out of the shadows. He looked ordinary, maybe 60, with eyes that seemed to hold too much sorrow for one person. "Are you Michael?" he asked. My guard went up. "Yeah. Who's asking?" He didn't answer right away. Instead, he pulled a plain white envelope from his coat pocket and held it out. "This is for you." I frowned. "From who?" "You'll understand when you open it," he said softly. And then, before I could press further, he walked away into the mist, leaving me standing under the flickering street light with nothing but that envelope in my hand. Inside was a letter. No check, no keys, no promises of riches. Just a handwritten note in shaky cursive. "The world rewards those who are seen. But the unseen are the ones who hold it together. You are not forgotten. What you carry matters more than what you own. When the time comes, choose to give and not just to have." And at the bottom, a single name I didn't recognize. I folded the letter and shoved it back in the envelope, confused, almost angry. It felt like a cruel joke. My brother was living in a mansion with staff waiting on him hand and foot, and here I was being handed cryptic messages by strangers. But something about the words stuck to me, like burrs you can't shake off. Weeks passed, and life didn't get easier. One night at work, I noticed a coworker, Alicia, crying in the break room. Her son had been admitted to the hospital, but she couldn't afford the bill. I felt that same old weight pressing on my chest, the helplessness, the unfairness of everything. And then I remembered the letter. Choose to give and not just to have. I didn't have millions. I barely had hundreds. But I did have $80 tucked away for groceries. Without thinking too hard, I handed it to her. "It's not much," I muttered, embarrassed. "But maybe it helps." The look on her face, a broken bar, it broke me and mended me at the same time. Gratitude, relief, love, yeah, all in one. She hugged me, whispering through tears, "You have no idea what this means." That night, lying in bed, I realized the stranger's words weren't about money. They were about choice. About where we place our value. Months went by. I started small, buying groceries for neighbors, tutoring kids after my shifts, volunteering at a shelter on weekends. Every time, I felt something inside me growing stronger, steadier. I wasn't rich in the way Daniel was. But people started to recognize me in a different way, the guy who showed up, the guy who cared. And then one day, Daniel called. His voice was hollow, strained. "Mike," he whispered, "I don't know who to trust anymore. Everyone wants something. I'm surrounded by people, but I've never felt lonelier." I drove out to the mansion. Beneath the chandeliers and marble floors, my brother sat crumpled on the edge of a sofa, tears streaking down his face. For hours, I just listened. Really listened. No cameras, no applause, just two brothers again. And as he leaned against me, whispering how empty it all felt, I thought about the letter, about the stranger, about how sometimes the ones who look forgotten are the ones who truly remember what matters. I never found out who the man with the envelope was. Maybe he was an angel, maybe just a weary soul who had learned life's secrets the hard way. But his words reshaped me. Because here's the truth, they gave my brother $75 million, a Tesla, and a mansion. But what I was given that night, a simple envelope with a message, turned out to be worth more than all of it. It taught me this: wealth isn't measured by what you hold in your hands. It's measured by what you place in the hands of others.